Well, hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about Morning Glory muffins. Have you ever heard of those? Sounds kind of interesting. Well, this recipe has about 18 ingredients, I think I counted, and so that's quite a few. The ingredients are easily substituted, so if you don't have everything it calls for, there are lots of things that you can use in place of. Our key ingredient that we're going to talk about today is honey, and honey has long been a favorite sweetener of people, of bakers in particular. One of the things that you have to remember whenever you're cooking with honey is that it's more or less a liquid. And so if you're using it in place of sugar, you're going to have to reduce the liquid in your recipe in some fashion so you don't have your end product be too soggy. So this particular honey is honey that I harvested back it was June of last year, and these are from my bees at my farm, and we have lots of clover. And so that's what the bees are mostly using to make the honey with. The bees go like the blossoms on the clover, and they use the nectar from the flowers, which is mostly water, but a little bit of different sugars, and then they convert that into some other sugars and put it in comb that's in the hive. And then there's some worker bees inside the hive that fan their wings and kind of dry it out a little bit so that it's thick like we know honey to be, and then eventually they'll cap it so that it'll stay in the hive, and they use it, to support themselves throughout the year and throughout the winter. But we like to take a little bit of that to enjoy in baking and hot tea and all kinds of good things. So honey is a pretty magical process. In a hive, there's one queen. There's probably thousands of drones, which are the male bees, and probably 30,000 to 80,000 of the worker bees. Those are all the hardworking females. Well, this particular recipe calls for whole wheat flour, but sometimes using entirely whole wheat makes baked goods kind of heavy, and so I decided to do half and half. So I've got half whole wheat and half white flour, but if you don't have whole wheat flour at home, white flour is going to work just fine. Some other dry ingredients we're going to add are baking soda and cinnamon and ginger and salt, and then our flaxseed. And remember, we talked about flaxseed earlier, and if you don't have flaxseed, maybe something like ground oats would work really good, but both of those would have some great fiber benefits to add to our baked good. Okay, here is some brown sugar and our beautiful honey. This recipe calls for 3 eggs, and I always like to give them a little whisk before I add them in so they'll incorporate really well. Okay, that ought to do it. So there's our eggs, a little bit of vanilla, smells so good, some applesauce. Unsweetened is best. If you don't have unsweetened applesauce, then maybe just cut back on the sugar just a little bit. And we're also going to add, this is pineapple juice, but if you have orange juice, that would work just as well. And then you have your choice of oil, and so vegetable oil works really good. This is actually coconut oil that I've just melted just a little bit in the microwave, and it'll give a nice coconutty flavor to our muffins. So I'm going to fold all of that together. So folding, if you remember, is going down to the bottom of the bowl and then bringing that up to the top. And we just want to make sure that we have all of our ingredients incorporated. The other thing that we're going to add is carrots, and this is 2 cups of shredded carrots. Add those in. And this is 1 cup of shredded apple. And that ended up being about 1 regular sized apple, and I think I used 3 large carrots. And so this would be a good time for one of our classmates, Seth. He did his report on a food processor. So this would be a good time to drag out that food processor, Seth. The last of our ingredients are going to be some raisins and about half a cup of pecans. We're going to fold those in. Look at all that yummy goodness that's in there. Lots of carrots, apple, raisins, and nuts. Who wouldn't want that for breakfast? Well, look at these pretty muffin cups. They look like morning glories, don't they? I'm going to use these to line my pan with. All right, I've got everything all mixed up here, and then I'm going to put, a couple of scoops in each one of the little cups here. Well, we've got our beautiful batter all dished up here, and this batter, once the muffins are baked, it'll taste kind of like a spice cake, meta carrot cake. So they're going to be really delicious. Something worth noting about this recipe is we start off baking at 425 degrees, and that seems really hot, and it is. And so, but we're going to put our muffins in for just a few minutes. And then we're going to turn the oven down to a more tolerable 325 and let them continue to bake. But that instant puff of heat activates the leavening and will cause our muffins to rise up. And that's what we want, our big tall muffins. Well, the muffins have been in there about 5 minutes, and there's definitely some activity going on in there. Here's a final shot of our muffins. They've just come out of the oven. They're supposed to cool for about 10 minutes, and then they'll be ready to serve.